My name's Dan Smith, and just started a church called Momentum Christian Church in Cleveland, Ohio. And I'm also a comedy writer and rapper, musician.
So fellas, have your girlfriends got the book? Well, read that holy book. Baby got book.
I did ministry for about 8 years in Washington, D.C., and one of the most notorious bars in the area was called the Shark Club. It was just known to be this meat market where people went to pick each other up. And we did a ministry in there where they let us come in every Sunday night while the bar was open, and I would come in and we'd bring a band, and then I'd get up and just talk on a stool about Jesus, and they let us come in and do it every Sunday night. So I got to thinking, what's the quickest bridge to get people from drinking and picking up chicks to listening to me talk about spiritual topics? And the only thing I could think of that would make that quick of a segue would be comedy, to catch their attention with comedy, videos, whatever, and then I'd have their attention and could go into the subject that I was talking about.
Let me be honest, I ain't lying to y'all. I was a late bloomer, if I ever bloomed at all. At 16, I could eclipse the sun with my nose. Had some skinny chicken legs, some Kmart clothes.
Yeah, the new album's called D.E.B S Kid. I grew up here in Toledo, Ohio. And my mom's name's Deb, and she creatively named me so that my initials spell out her name. And so my name's Danny Elvin with an E, Brian Smith, and so it spells Debs, and she always called me D.E.B S Kid. And in case anybody ever tried to snatch me or something, she'd be able to say, "Hey, I got him labeled, he's mine." And so that's the title of the album. And it's got a lot of fun stuff on it. I kind of had to put the album on hold for about 2 years because we were starting a church called Momentum in Cleveland. And so I had all this stuff written and finally got to start recording it last year.
Lake James Christian, no assembly required, because if nobody showed up, I'd probably still be inspired, because the Holy Spirit just feels thick in this place. When the devil shows up, we always kick in his face.
I grew up in a home that didn't go to church at all, and I was invited by my best friend named Jason to go to a church camp, and it was there that I kind of first heard the message of Jesus in a way that I understood. And before that, anytime I went to church, I thought it was so boring. I just want to beat my head with a lead pipe, like, oh man, this is so boring. But when I went to church camp, it was like in my language, and it totally transformed my life, hearing about grace. And I already had some stuff that I was addicted to at that time, and just really couldn't believe that God would just wash all that away for free.
You would think this whole place was filled with guns and knives. 80 people going up and dedicating their lives. Goes worship, preaching, God shows up. Decisions, life change, this place blows up, because it's Lake James.
Yeah, the thing that turned around was going to Lake James Christian Assembly church camp in Northeast Indiana. And ever since then, I've traveled around the country and spoken at church camps and youth conventions and all kinds of stuff like that, kind of because I want to keep paying back to church camp. And because of that, I've gone to an awful lot of rustic church camps too, which inspired Camp Krusty, the song in the albums.
The camp has a name, but we call it Camp Krusty. Even the cross on the sign is all rusty. Seats in the chapel are as hard as rocks, and the guy who is preaching never owns a clock. You can probably get a clue, the yellowish shoe. Swimming pool's been dirty since early June.
I think it's really just important to kind of show students and adults that God doesn't mind us having fun. God, created joy and laughter, and my philosophy is that if you want to do church serious, there's a ton of churches that do church very, very serious, and I like to show people that you can also do church and have a little fun. And so, like I said, we laugh a lot at our church, and I want to kind of bring an aspect of that, when I come to do songs and comedy and music. And I like to just plant seeds with students to get them to figure out that if they feel called to follow God, or even specifically ministry as a full-time vocation or whatever, that there aren't just these perfect boxes of senior pastor, youth pastor, music, or worship or whatever, that there are just so many different gifts you can use for God, things as dumb as comedy and things like music, which is a little bit more obvious. But I want students to be able to see that and kind of start thinking about, what art skill do I have that I might be able to use for God to make him smile?